So, Toddy, or not Toddy, I'm going to go to Garry first. So, Garry, it's all known that you are a family of Cowboys fans. So, I'm going to go to you first. Trey Lance traded to the Cowboys for a 4th-round pick. Tell me what Uncle Manny was going through. I want to get your thoughts, but Uncle Manny's a crowd favorite, so we got to get Uncle Manny's feedback.
What did Uncle Manny say? What did he say? He said, I'm trying to look at his messages. I texted him about this. So I don't know. I don't got it right now pulled up. But I know he was trying to pull like, first of all, I don't know why I'm wearing blue now. We talking Cowboys. I shouldn't even wear this blue right now. I forgot I put it on. But anyways, to be honest with first Uncle Man, I think he was saying I think all the Cowboy fans, to be honest with you, my brother, all my cousins that love the Cowboys for some reason, I think they're all kind of happy about it for some reason because I think they put in their mind they're putting pressure on Dak Prescott to play good this year. So if he doesn't play good, I guess they think they have a great backup and ready in line. But from my perspective, guys, I think this was I think it was good for Trey Lance to get out of the 49erville. Obviously, Vaughn, I think, would agree too. It's really been a mess for 3 years if he's going to play, when he's going to get on the field, and if he's going to get the opportunity to actually show himself. Because we all know he hasn't had that many snaps or that much game time in the NFL yet to really see like what he's made of. So I feel like the Cowboys took a flyer on a young player that maybe can develop in the future. I think that it's going to be good for the Cowboys just to have, I guess, a backup, just because we all know Dak Prescott has been injured prior to, and they have one of the best backups already in the league. So I feel like this is just going to add to the quarterback room. It's sad to say they actually feel like probably got better because they did get more depth. And we all know, I'm not going to lie, Dak, I don't feel like obviously should be feeling the pressure this year. But I think really what this down comes to is this makes things choppy. Like I think Vaughn would agree. That just makes, when you throw messes like young quarterbacks into the fray, into your quarterback room with people that are already established or already have the mantle like Dak Prescott has, it doesn't really, he obviously not going to come in there and take the reins from Dak. But at the same time, it does put a different type of pressure that obviously, as we heard the reports today, Jerry Jones did not care and did not want to tell anybody what his moves are. He basically said, I'm going to do what's best for me in this logo and this star right here. And you guys don't need to know about it at all. He didn't really care. Obviously, the thing came out and said that obviously the coach, McCarthy, didn't even know really. Obviously, Dak wasn't aware or given a heads up or a flyer on it as well. So I feel like that just shows that where the Cowboys are right now, that they're ready for business. And Dak Prescott has something to prove this year big time, because in about a few years, if he doesn't, he's going to be commanding a big bag, especially playing for the Dallas Cowboys, and he's going to be a free agent in 2 years where they won't be able to franchise tag him, so he can really get one of the biggest bags in NFL history. So, which I wouldn't doubt for him playing for the Dallas Cowboys, he wouldn't ask for that. So I feel like it's a leverage play for both parties in terms of Dak. It's like a leverage against him, obviously, and for the Cowboys, leverage to use against him maybe in the future. And obviously, it's twofold, because obviously Jerry Jones, like he said, it's going to help the quarterback room, and we're going to get more depth. We're going to get better overall. So I feel like for the Cowboys right now, it's good, even though it's not good to apply pressure to your team. But we all know this is the Cowboys. This is what they do. It's actually good for the Niners. They got the way, even though I know they're feeling a little bit on one to scale. Vaughn, how dumb y'all feeling, man? Because them picks is gone. But I'm going to let you go, Vaughn. Go ahead.
Hold on. Before we go, we were talking about the man, myth, and the legend. And here he is for all the audio-only listeners. God. Uncle Manny. Let's go Cowboys. Not one Cowboys fan in the comments. We have two. Jesse Singh for a 4th-rounder. LOL. But Uncle Manny had to spin the block. Dak is not worried about it. Dak got the glasses on, man. I don't got the black ones with me today, but Dak can't see nothing, man. He see the back. Right, we got the back coming his way, so it's going to be interesting to see. And we got some Skull in the chat. Our good man Wes is in the chat. I told him we were talking about his division today, so he's going to be here and ready for you guys. So, Toddy, before I get to I want to go over the 10 worst NFL draft day trades. So this is according to CBS. So
this wasn't a draft day trade, though, but I get where you're going. But go ahead.
So number 10, the Browns moved up for Trent Richardson. Trent Richardson in 29 games only had 977 yards, and they traded 2 first-round picks. Number 9, Toddy's guy. Jets trade for Sam Darnold. They swapped ones and 3 second-round picks for my man Sam Darnold to be there for 3 seasons. He played 38 games, threw 39 picks, 8,097 yards with 45 touchdowns. Then Johnny Football. I know everyone just saw the documentary, so I'm not going to go too far into this, but they traded up to jump 3 slots. So they gave away a first and a future third for Johnny Manziel. And we also saw the documentary, played 14 games, 7 touchdowns, 7 picks with 1,700 yards. Then we have Mitchell Trubisky. This one isn't really a bad day trade. It's just when you look at it, he could have gotten a lot better talent. We have Patrick Mahomes. We have Deshaun Watson. So that quarterback draft was loaded. But due to time, we're going to just jump to the top 3. Ricky Williams. Let me make sure I get this right. 2 firsts, 2 thirds, a 4th, a 5th, a 6th, and a 7th for him to only be in a Saints jersey for 3 years to rush for 3,129 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 18 fumbles in his 38 games played. And then the Colts traded John Elway.
John Elway didn't want to go there.
He didn't want to go. He forced him out. He forced his way out. So they got 2 first-round picks for John Elway, and the rest was history. Yeah. But the man of the hour, it's only right we talk about this. The Niners jumped from 12th to number 3 to have a guy start 4 games, go 5 touchdowns, 3 picks, 797 yards. Garry, this man made $28 million off of 262 snaps. Sign me up. I'll play in a monsoon, whatever you got to do. All that for 262 snaps. My man has thrown 475 passes since his last game, his senior year of high school. Dak threw more than that last season. So, Toddy, Garry asked how you were feeling. So give us your Niners feedback and then what you're feeling for Trey Lance moving forward.
Yeah, it's not ideal. It's not ideal on, trading up for 3. I can remember when we traded up from 12 to 3. I remember that day. I was on my way to work, got the notification from Schefter. Trey Lance, or not Trey Lance, it was the 49ers traded with the Miami Dolphins from 12 to 3. Kind of before that, this was I can't remember what had happened the year prior to that. I think Jimmy had gotten hurt, and I think we were just trashed that year. Yeah, that was the year we were basically the JV team. Pretty much everyone was hurt. We kind of just mailed that season in midway through. And I was like, damn, Jimmy got hurt again. We didn't really need a new quarterback. This is a cool draft class at the time. This is a good draft class for quarterbacks. This is a guy guys I was zeroed in on was Zach Wilson and Justin Fields. Zach Wilson.
Justin Fields.
I sent numerous pictures to Shaun. I tuned into all the BYU games. I remember when they played against Coastal Carolina. I don't know if you guys remember when Zach Wilson got pushed by a guy in college. Mm-hmm. I was elated on Twitter. I was going crazy, get off my quarterback. That's what he's a quarterback. This, that, and the third. So, and then obviously there was Justin Fields, prominent guy out of high school. Most scouts said that, he had all of the physical tools, played in tons of big games. Just wasn't really able to process information that well, be able to make all the right reads. That's pretty much what most of the scouts were saying. So I was kind of leaning towards Justin Fields. Me and Shaun were kind of, if you guys,
I think I came on one of your shows, Vaughn. One of those shows I remember. I said Fields too.
Yeah,
I think you guys were all saying. You guys were all both saying Fields. I'm not gonna lie, they were both.
But nobody was saying Mac Jones. Mac Jones was kind of like that guy in the wins, just kind of like, hey, I'm one of those top guys as well. And then ultimately Trey Lance kind of came about. I don't really know too much about him because the year before that,
he barely been playing.
He played, I think, he played basically 1 year, and I think he didn't throw any picks that year. Threw for 30 plus touchdowns.
41 touchdowns, 0 picks.
Yeah. So he looked great. He looked like he was running linebackers over, but now let's take this all into account. This was D2 football. Same school that Carson Wentz went to. Kevin's very familiar with him.
Florida State, baby.
Another thing is just the year after that, COVID kind of hit, and he only played 1 year, or he only played 1 game. So we didn't really get to see too much from him. So didn't really have that many reps. And then kind of going into it, you're just hearing more and more about Mac Jones. I'm like, Jesus Christ, can we not pick Mac Jones? So I'm already assuming that Trevor Lawrence is already off of the board. Urban Meyer's he's leaving Ohio State to go coach Trevor Lawrence, and he's going to be the next this, that, and the third. Okay. And then early draft talk, you're starting to hear Zach Wilson starting to take that spot. So I'm like, all right, we're probably not going to get Zach. He's going to the Jets. So I'm like, all right, we could either get Trey Lance or Justin Fields. And, draft day ends up coming, and we draft Trey Lance. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be the guy kind of going forward. We've still got Jimmy Garoppolo there. So I'm thinking maybe he beats Jimmy out in camp. Camp kind of comes and goes. He doesn't play, or he doesn't win the job. Jimmy's named the starter. He played a couple of snaps in our first game against the Lions. He threw his first touchdown pass against the Lions. So I'm like, okay, Trey, he came in, did his thing. There's some excitement there. And then, Jimmy's always getting hurt. So we're like, all right, he's probably going to end up getting hurt, and Trey's going to end up taking over. So Packer game, he runs in a touchdown on 4th down. It was a very key pivotal point. So I'm kind of thinking that he's going to be more like of a runner. We're going to use him for wildcat purposes, kind of. But then Jimmy goes down against the Seahawks, and Trey comes in. We're losing that game. And then I remember Trey ended up throwing a touchdown to Deebo Samuel, who was wide open. Blown coverage from Jamal Adams. And I was just like, all right, Trey, he's making these. But we lose that game, though. So he doesn't really start. He gets the start next week against Arizona. And then I'm like, okay, this is kind of where we're going to be able to see. Are we going to see flashes? And at this time, Arizona's undefeated. I think they're 5-0. And it's at Arizona. So it's a divisional game. So we're like, okay. I'm seeing kind of, him miss a couple of easy throws here and there, and kind of just he's making some good throws, but he's also missing some throws. So I'm like, all right, he just needs to just get a rhythm of some sort. Ultimately, he ends up breaking his finger in that game, and then we're like, fuck, Jimmy's hurt, now Trey's hurt. Okay, now they're saying Trey's out for however many long. But then Jimmy ultimately finishes the season. Next year kind of goes on. They're trying to just give Trey the reins pretty much. And, the monsoon game happens. You can't really judge him from that. Just the weather was too crazy. Kev thinks otherwise.
Justin Fields played in it, played pretty well.
He made 3 good throws in the game. So
touchdown throws.
it was very hard to judge. So just going into the next game against Seattle, Seattle is a team that most Niner fans aren't too fond of, and we're like, all right, this is going to be the game that we'll kind of see him break out. There can't really be any excuses for him, right? And he ends up breaking his ankle on the third play of the drive, and his season is over. Jimmy comes back. Ultimately, he gets hurt. Brock Purdy comes in the Dolphins game and never looks back. Takes us all the way to the NFC Championship game, where we do lose to the Philadelphia Eagles towards UCL. So when you have a quarterback, not only a quarterback, but a guy who was picked last in the entire draft, the whole draft, the last person picked in the whole draft, and for him to go 7-0 in his career starts and take you all the way to NFC Championship, it's hard to turn to Trey Lance and say, all right, Trey, this is your team. We had a sticky situation with that long ago when it was Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick. And Alex Smith ends up getting hurt with a concussion. Colin Kaepernick kind of comes in and tears everything up. And obviously he's more of a dual threat. It can run a little bit. Not saying Alex Smith wasn't mobile, but Colin Kaepernick was basically – he ran a 4.4.
He was going crazy. Him and Russell Wilson were going crazy that time.
It was. We kind of took the league by storm. Obviously, we won the NFC Championship, went to the Super Bowl, ended up losing. But Brock Purdy kind of comes in and just takes us to the NFC Championship. We're just like, oh shit, bro, he's the last pick in the draft. What are we gonna do? So ultimately, Camp comes in and the Niners signed Sam Darnold. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. I thought that was a little weird. I kind of mentioned that in our group chat when the signing first happened. All right, Sam Darnold's going to come in and be the third guy, and Trey and Brock are going to battle it out. And I never wanted to really pick sides because I'm a Niner fan. I'm not a Brock Purdy fan or a Trey Lance fan. I'm more of a Niner fan. Whoever's going to win the job, he's going to be our quarterback. I'm going to support whoever we.
Who are you pulling for, though, Vaughn?
I wasn't really pulling for anybody. I was just kind of whoever is going to be the guy is going to be the guy. And ultimately, Trey, I wouldn't say he really got a fair shake because he did get hurt. A lot of factors, a lot of factors played in. So he didn't really get a chance to get out there and give him a chance to really play. So in the preseason, when you're kind of seeing him split up with Sam Darnold, and he came in the fourth quarter of the Broncos game, I'm like, okay. And they ended up ultimately bringing us back, winning the game against the Broncos. Now it was against third, unfortunately, but he did have a comeback drive. So when the news came out that Sam Darnold was going to be the number 2 guy, you're never hearing stories. Like, there's never been a story this big about who's going to be the backup quarterback. Like, this is the first time in history that you've ever heard about, like, who's going to be the number 2 guy, not the number 1, the number 2 guy. So when the news came out that Darnold was going to be the number 2, I instantly texted the group chat and was like, damn, Trey's probably gone. And then you saw that he wasn't at practice. I'm like, he's already out of there. So we started naming off places. I'm like, the Falcons, the Commanders. Kevin was very high on the Cardinals because the Cardinals, Kyler Murray was out. I was like, there's no way in hell we're trading him in division. So I was like, damn, where can he really go? I was like, the Bucs, maybe he could go there and, play. So we were all kind of all over the place. I don't think any one of us expected him to go to Dallas. It was kind of a shock when I saw him went to the Cowboys. And then I'm like, all right, so he's going to go to the Cowboys, but he's going to be the number 3 in Dallas?
Do you think the Niners made the right decision? You think they're going to regret this, Vaughn?
It's kind of tough to say.
A year ago, they literally picked him over Jimmy G, but now all of a sudden he wasn't better than Jimmy G. That's why I was kind of confused. Like, how did he get to that spot?
It's kind of just like it's a bad look. It's a very bad look because you traded 2 first-round picks. The third pick was a pick swap, so it's really 2 first-round picks, not really 3, because the third was a pick swap. But nevertheless, this is one of the worst draft trade-ups, whatever you want to call it, in history, because ultimately he ended up selling it for a 4th-round pick. And I was kind of shocked that we got a 4th-round pick. I thought we were going to get like a 7th, a 6th. So
put some respect on my man's name.
So I was like, when Jerry gave us a 4th, I was like, okay, that's kind of in the ballpark of where we thought he was going to go. So when he ultimately, gets traded to the Cowboys, I'm like, all right, so Dak is the guy, but they have a backup quarterback by the name of Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush won what?
4-1?
Well, like 4-1 last year. Uncle Manny, can you give me the Cooper Rush stats for last year in the chat so I can be a little bit more precise? But I'm like, Cooper Rush is already the guy, and they won games with him. They thought there was a point in time people saying that we don't need Dak to come back. He's going to do this and that. So I was like, okay. So now Trey Lance is going to be the number 3 in Dallas, but he didn't want to be the number 3 in. I don't know. It was just weird for how it kind of all played out. Now, okay, so I'm hearing all these things about Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch. They should be, coaches get fired for things like this. This is, one of the worst things in history, one of the worst trades in history. They need to be held accountable. I understand where everybody's coming from. But went to NFC Championship game last year. Like, let's be real about the situation. Went to the NFC Championship last year. Our team is stacked. We had at least 7 or 8 players on the top 100 list. We have Pro Bowlers everywhere. We have arguably the greatest left tackle in like NFL history. We have Brandon Ayuk. We have Deebo Samuel. We have Christian McCaffrey's arm. Like, if our team wasn't so stacked, it's like John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan could literally give a fuck. Like, I get, like, okay, it's a big deal. We traded up to get Trey Lance. And
the QB situation looks like a clown show. That's why. That's why they're getting teared apart right now. The biggest position that you have to pick.
Went to the NFC Championship game last year.
But now, you can't handle the best position. The main position, Vaughn, they're handling it like a clown show, literally.
If Trey went and played and he was bad, and then, like, he was just bad and we were stuck, basically, and we had to just get rid of him and be like, shit, like, our hands are tied. Like, I would have been like, damn. I would have, no.
Yeah, because he sucks. You still don't know if he's good or not. You're going to be so pissed if he ends up doing good in Dallas. You don't know if he's good or not. You're probably, I think they would have traded him for Brock Purdy's heart.
Brock Purdy went 7-0 when the games he started and finished, went 7-0. He took us all the way to the NFC Championship.
He should
300 yard He had 300-yard games in the playoffs. He's won playoff games. So it's not like we're left high and dry, no quarterback. Damn, like we're stuck. And we have a loaded roster. We don't have a quarterback. We got a guy, Brock Purdy. So it's not like I understand, like, fuck. Trey Lance was supposed to be the guy, but then ultimately he ended up getting hurt, and that kind of like stunted his growth. He got hurt in previous games, so I feel like that kind of hurt his development a little bit more. There are just so many factors that kind of happen.
You still don't know if he's the guy or not, to be honest. I don't think you don't know. I think he's unknown still. So
Brock
I mean,
Purdy's
it is going to hurt
unknown.
you guys. Brock Purdy's known. I'm talking about
Trey
Lance.
Trey Lance could definitely still be a guy still.
That's what I'm saying. So then it's really going to look bad if you guys.
I'm like, why would he
sent
agree to go to
early.
Dallas and be the third guy? Now, maybe he just needs a fresh start and kind of get in where he fits in. But he's in Dallas now, and they already have a guy in Dak Prescott.
I kind of felt bad for Trey.
A guy he's getting $40 million a year, so he's the only way he's getting off the field is he's injured, and he's not in the backup. The backup.
And they play different styles too.
He's not in the backup, so I'm just like, are we ever going to see Trey Lance take a snap for the Cowboys? That's something that probably will never happen. But given Dak's injury history, it's possible. But at the same time, the Cowboys already have a backup quarterback. And so, would like to see where he kind of ends up as. They got rid of Will Greer, who was their third-string quarterback, and I guess Trey's going to come in and be the guy. So I don't – you heard Dak's comments kind of came out and said nothing kind of surprises them in this league because, it's a business, this, that, and the third. I don't think Dak's worried about Trey Lance taking his job. I just think when push comes to shove, when they're, getting into these playoff situations and they're losing still, it's going to be like, hey, we got a guy we can kind of fall off on. And, we'll take that flyer on him, which is a fourth-round pick. He could still be a guy that's really good. And, this could happen, and we could reload our team to where, like, we're not paying our quarterback, a large majority of the cap. We can kind of go back and, give Trey on a team-friendly deal and kind of just go out and sign guys and stack the roster, essentially. But, when you're paying a large majority portion, to your quarterback, which is Dak Prescott, Dak kind of – I saw Nick Wright say that Dak – his contract's set up to where the last year of his deal, he can't get franchise tag. So he's basically going to be he could play the last year of his he could pay the last year of his deal out, and he can't get tagged for it. So he's going to have basically all the leverage when that time comes. And we'll see where the Cowboys are leaning. If the Cowboys are going to the playoffs and he's losing the divisional round, divisional Dak, they're going to look at a guy like Trey Lance and just be like, hey, we got a young bull ready to go. So. I get what everybody's saying. It was an all-time bad trade, but it's not like the Niners aren't still contending. We're still arguably one of the best teams in the NFC.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what year this was, but I'm going to take us down memory lane. There was a guy named Drew Bledsoe. Highest paid contract, blah, 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 blah. They got this young man named Tom Brady sitting on the bench. Drew Bledsoe goes down. Does he play again? We don't know. Yeah. No one knows what he did after that because Tom Brady came in and took over. Dak Prescott has missed 17 games in the past 2 seasons. He is coming off the worst season of his career, leading the NFL in interceptions. Hell yes, he has pressure. They would have told him if it wasn't. They would be like, hey, man, we're bringing this guy in. We don't know what we're feeling about Cooper, but you're all good. That man woke up and found out on Twitter just like the rest of us. Someone hit the Cowboys group. They're like, oh, shit, here we go. And he was like, uh-oh. And now it was here. So Dak has a lot of pressure under him. And speaking from the heart, I talked to Toddy about this today. If this comes to light, Trey Lance comes in, Dak goes down, and Trey Lance becomes the next big thing, I'm going to have to kick Toddy and Shaun off the podcast because I'm going to have to deal with that twice a year. So if this man comes in here and does his thing, it's going to be crazy. Garry mentioned it in his opening segment. They both have 2 years left on their deal. Someone's going to get paid. Cooper Rush is going to be the odd man out because the biggest thing when Cooper Rush came in, they went 4-1 is the narrative was they changed the playbook. They kind of pulled things back and babysat him. Trey Lance is pretty similar to Dak. He came out in the combine a lot faster. And he has a pretty much a better arm, if you ask me. So Trey Lance has a lot of things that he can still grow. He can still grow and he can still be that guy. I hate that it has to be in my division. But just going back to the draft, Toddy, I just want to go down and let you know who could have been in a 49er jersey. Kyle Pitts.
Please don't remind me.
Jamar Chase. Jalen Waddle. Penei Sewell. J.C. Horn. Pat Surtain. Devontae Smith. Justin Fields. And Micah Parsons. Could you imagine what your team would look like? And then you will still have the additional first the next year.